Hi, and welcome to Lost Genre, I Don't Work Here, Lady. The subname is pretty self-explanatory, so let's start with the first story. This isn't a dog daycare at all. A while back, I was working in an office that allowed dogs. It was an open floor plan, and since customers never came into the office, we kept the dogs' food and water bowls right by the front door, just because it was the most convenient space and no one else would see them but us who worked there. Of the 6 of us who worked in the main office area, I was the only one who didn't have a dog. No pets policy at the apartment. And always felt horribly left out. To make matters worse, across the way was a doggy daycare. One day, a very frantic woman came in and she had an absolutely massive basset hound with her. Usually, the only people who came into the office were associates who had appointments with someone working there, but it was rare they brought their dogs. She ran up to me and said, "Do you work here?" And I said, "Yes, how can I help you?" And she said, "I wasn't sure if you took walk-ins, but I read online I could just drop them off. I tried to call, but no answer." I didn't know what she was talking about at that point, and I said, "Come again? Who did you call exactly?" Thinking if I could just saddle her off to whoever she came to see, I wouldn't have to decipher her problem. She said, "Well, it doesn't matter now. Look, something urgent's come up and I really need to leave him here. Here's his food he likes and I'll be back in a few hours." And at this point, I wasn't thinking of the doggy daycare. I thought maybe she was a friend of someone here. I said, "Well, alright, can I get your name, please?" And she said her name and then asked if I needed her to sign anything, and I was so confused at this point I just said, "Why would you need to sign something?" And she left almost immediately. So I took Otis, the dog, to the back and showed him to my coworkers, and no one knew the woman or dog. I was worried she wouldn't come back, but at the same time, my wish for an office dog had been granted, and Otis was supremely chill. All he did all day was lie around and drool onto his own ears. I just freshened him up every now and then, took him out every couple of hours, and he was happy as a clam on a big cushy dog bed we thankfully had an extra of. He just loved the attention from anywhere he could get it. At the end of the day, the woman, thank God, came back. She said, "Thanks, you're a lifesaver. How was he?" And I said, "He was a champ." And was about to say, "But why is he here?" when she said, "That's a relief. Most kennels say he gets anxious around other dogs. I heard you operated at a much higher capacity. I was thrilled to see you had so few clients in the room at one time. So how much do I owe?" And that's when I realized she thought we were a dog daycare. Now, I probably should have corrected her, but I loved my day with the office dog and I did want to get paid for supervising this strange dog all day. I just threw out the number that sounded fair and appropriate. "That'll be $20, I said. She replied, "Really?" in this very high tone, and I couldn't tell if I'd overshot or undershot, but she paid me and left. My coworkers were laughing hysterically when they realized what had happened, and we thought it would just be a good story for the future. But the next week, she came back. She said we were so much more affordable and less overcrowded than her other place that she was happy to use us. I was glad for the company, so I just took him. I didn't think there was any way she couldn't have at least some idea we weren't a dog daycare. The whole ordeal was so strange, I just figured, don't question a good thing. I was much younger and dumber then. Not long after, Otis started getting dropped off 2, sometimes even 3 or 4 days a week. I was in heaven. He was such a love, and he made fast friends with the delivery guys and visitors. One day, we took our office Christmas card photo, and Otis was over that day, so we included him in a Santa hat. It was pretty great. But it turns out Otis' owner was friends with one of our clients who, I guess, happened to have the card out on her table or was kind enough to display it alongside her other holiday cards. Because one day, Otis' owner came in holding the card and walked up to me and said, "I can't even believe I'm asking this, but is that my dog in this photo? This isn't a dog daycare at all. This is just an office, isn't it?" She said it with a note of surprise, as though she was looking around and putting it all together for the first time. No coincidence that this was the first time she wasn't in some crazy rush either. She was like, "Then who are all these other dogs?" And I explained. I was terrified she was going to demand her money back, or worse, take some sort of legal action against us for misrepresenting ourselves as a dog care business or complain to corporate. Instead, she basically said, "Why didn't you ever say anything?" And I explained we just really liked having Otis around. She stopped for a minute and seemed to be thinking and said, "Is that right?" And I said yes and told the story of how I was the only one in the office without a dog, so loved the company. She seemed a little flummoxed or hesitant, understandably, because the whole thing was so weird. She turned to my coworker and asked if I was telling the whole truth. I don't know why she thought my coworker, also a stranger to her, was any more trustworthy than me, but hey, strange times. Coworker backed me up. So she said, "Well, I wish you'd said something sooner. Could have saved me a lot of embarrassment with my friend back there. Alright, I have to get going. See you at 4. And she left Otis. I couldn't believe it. I said, "So he can stay?" And she replied, "Where else could I find someone to watch him one-on-one all day for $20? And off she went. Otis stayed my office dog until his family moved away. Luckily, right around the same time, I took a new job. Nice! That is the nicest, sweetest Idontworkherelady story I've read ever. It's so cool. I mean, the lady didn't get mad or anything, and the guy got an office dog for just the office, which was what he wanted. That is a really nice story. So, let's move on to the next story. I got fired from Walmart and never worked there. About a year ago, I worked selling solar panel systems. This job required me to wear khakis and a blue polo when I was meeting customers. One particular day, after meeting with a homeowner, I had to stop by my local Walmart to get more pens and a notepad for my work bag. I pretty consistently got asked if I worked there by other customers, and I would help if I knew what they were after, but I always told them that I didn't work there, and they were always kind. So this fateful day, I grabbed my pens and paper and checked out in the self-checkout section. As I was leaving, I heard someone say behind me, "And just where do you think you're going?" Now, a little about me. I try to mind my own business as much as possible and don't like to get wrapped up in other people's drama. When I hear outbursts like this in public, I assume it's not because of me. I also try to follow the rules as much as possible. In this case, I assume it wasn't me because I paid for everything, so I continue to my car. Roughly 30 feet from my car, I hear again, "Hey you, stop!" I do turn around at that one because that's typically what you say to a thief. An employee who can only be described as a Karen is marching towards me. 8 different kinds of PO'd. She starts reaming into me about how I'm abandoning my shift and I'm not supposed to get off for another 3 hours. I'm standing there bewildered because I genuinely have no clue what she's talking about, and I try to let her know I don't work there, but she won't let me get a word in. Eventually she says, "Forget it, you're fired." I wait about 5 seconds and told her, "I don't work here. I've never worked here." She stared at me and muttered, "Sorry," and ran back inside. Haha, well, that's gotta be embarrassing for Karen. I guess she learned that before screaming at somebody, she might really want to make sure that it's somebody that works for her. Alright, let's move on to the final story. I snapped on a Karen. Recently found me a new job that I really enjoy. I worked both my old job at the restaurant and my new one for a while till I was able to fully start the new job. It's been a couple of weeks since I quit the restaurant and I went to pick up my last check. They are doing to-go orders only, like a lot of places are doing right now. I went up to the cashier station and my friend was the only person working and one cook. So I just started talking to her about what's been going on and my new job and stuff while she got my check from under the counter. The kitchen yelled, "Order up!" That echoed through the whole empty restaurant. So she went to grab the order and I stayed at the front waiting for her to come back. I was standing next to the cashier stand, not behind it. A car pulled up and parked in front of the restaurant in a handicap spot. And I noticed they didn't have any stickers to park there. I recognized the lady from when I used to work here. She's a total Karen biatch that every single person working here hated her. She always had many complaints and almost never tipped. She would come in with a group 2-3 more Karens and run the waitress around for 2 hours and then not tip. She even made a new girl cry one day. So I started to walk to the back to get my friend, and so Karen wouldn't say anything to me, but she obviously recognized me from when I worked here. Some of this is paraphrased because I was so angry I don't remember exactly word for word. Karen, screaming red in the face.
I want a refund. I'm so fed up with you all not knowing how to do your job.
Me, let me get someone to help. Karen,
no, you will give me my money back right this second. I'm never coming back here again. That girl said she checked the order, but it's wrong. I was here a few minutes ago and ordered grilled catfish and there's no tartar sauce in it. How am I supposed to eat fish with no tartar sauce? And I never got the Dr. Pepper I paid for. She looked like she's about to explode with anger. I was starting to feel angry too. Karen, and I drove here twice already. I want money for the gas I wasted.
Me, okay, let me go get someone to help you. I will admit, I said it in a snappy way. I do not appreciate anyone talking to me like that. She noticed and immediately started cussing me out, and my friend came out from the back asking what happened. Karen starts yelling at her and I went to the back. I quickly asked the cook for a tartar sauce while I made a Dr. Pepper. I then walked back up to Karen. She was still demanding a refund and $50 for gas. There's no way she used $50 of gas. She's insulting my friend and saying I was rude to her. I just want to say that what I'm about to do, some of you might think is wrong, but after working years in customer service and having to put up with little jerks like her, I saw this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to finally give them a taste of their own medicine. I mean, what are they going to do? Fire me? I don't work there anymore. Me, nobody here freaking likes you. You are the biggest piece of ass I have ever met. She looked at me, wide-eyed, frozen in shock. Me, you really freaking think it's okay to just come here and not tip? And then treat everyone like they are worthless? Why are you like this? Always such a nasty attitude, thinking you're better than everyone? I'm sorry your life is so freaking miserable that you constantly have to put others down. You are a freaking biatch. Here's your stuff. You can shove it up your butt. I set the tartar sauce and the drink on the counter. Not going to lie, I really thought about throwing it at her. Then I just walked out with my check before she could say a word to me. Although I think she was stunned silent. No one probably has ever talked to her narcissistic butt like that before. I went home and started telling my boyfriend about it, and before I could even get a few sentences out, the owner of the store is calling me. He wanted me to apologize and I said no freaking way. So now I'm forever banned from going back there. My friend said that Karen threw the biggest fit after I left, screaming for the manager and the owner, and she almost called the police. Really happy I didn't throw that drink at her now. I did feel bad for leaving her with that mess, but she said she was thoroughly entertained by this situation. And she wishes she could have cussed her out too. I really wish I said more to Karen because on my way home I thought of all kinds of stuff I could have said. I think this has been building in me for a while and I finally snapped. Honestly, I do not regret a single word I said to her. Wow, that's gonna be like the dream, right? When you can just say anything to a person who's been nasty, especially as a server, you know, just it sucks for the friend who had to stay there and then deal with this woman just yapping and screaming, and then the owner and the manager and all that stuff. That's the bad part, but it has to be really nice to just be able to tell somebody who's this nasty how things are. Ugh. Okay, I hope you guys liked today's video and the stories in it. So if you did, then just go ahead and press that like button. I'll see you guys on the next video. And remember, if you have any ideas, just write them down in the comment section and I'll go check them out.